Valessa returned to Valenorth, accepting her mantle as elder. Leading Valenorth in a way that respected its tradition, the nation flourished. Borders became less strict, and Valenorth was popular with tourists in the future. Because of her wishes and style of leadership, Valenorth retained its culture. Forests were left intact, the idol was left standing, and everything was just as it was. Going down in history as one of the most revered elders, all future rulers respected her wishes. Valessa started a new tradition in your honor. Once a year, gifts and well-wishes would be left at Solberg's idol. This was to thank the idol that empowered you and saved all of Alestia. For as long as she lived, she attended every year. Known as a strong ruler, this was the only time she shed a tear. Your legacy and your sacrifice was honored by Valenorth forever. Because of your efforts and choices, Valessa survived. When the whole world stood against her, she faced it and prevailed. You gave her a gift of a happy, peaceful life, one not lost to senseless war. Fortaime chose to settle in Mazeo after the war. Helping the nation's people adjust to the new world was his goal. However, this was to make up for the truth of learning that his parents were pirates. Undoing the damage they had done to the nation was his top priority. Soon after that, the wounds of Mazeo were healed. Everybody was safe and happy. Tales of the occupation and the triumvirate's wrath soon faded into history and legend. In his eyes, he had made up for any harm his parents had caused the nation. When he passed away, he was known as one of Mazeo's greatest public figures. Without his help and direction, many say the nation would have never recovered at all. During all of this, he never forgot your sacrifice. He considered it a necessity to keep your memory alive. Almost never keeping quiet, he told stories of you for his entire life. He focused on the little things, rather than your grand destiny. For example, how your life as children in Valenorth went on. He thought it important to pass on the idea of humble beginnings. It wasn't very long until word of Fortaime's other endeavors came to light. Having been the first person to climb the grand tree, he was a legend. And just like he had wished, it soon became a tradition for climbers to scale the tree. This continued for almost an eternity after his passing. Climbers would leave notes for him at the top of the tree, close to the heavens. They thought that maybe somehow he could read them. They thanked him for all he had done. Fortaime survived the war, despite all odds. His strong love for everything around him kept him afloat. When all hope was lost, he stood up and challenged death in the face. And for that, he was never forgotten. Living a long and full life, he was happy. Alestia was forever better because of him. After the war, Pro settled down in Mazeo and started to write. He wanted to chronicle everything about the major players of the war. Working with any rebel survivors, he pledged that their story would never be lost. His works would go down in history as the most detailed records of wartime. People would aspire to write like him, but to this date, none have come close. Considered one of the greatest historians in Alestia, he retired and lived a peaceful life. He wrote about you and your sacrifice in vivid detail. In his mind, the most important asset in the war should be remembered. But true to his methods, he wrote about your day-to-day life as well. Legends should be grounded in reality. At least that's what he thought. It was important for people to realize you were a person first and a hero second. This empowered generations to come with the idea that anybody could be a hero. Pro's identity as the mole within the rebellion never came to light. However, even if it did, he had done enough to make up for his actions. Many aspired to write like him, but none could achieve such prowess. After the war, Ulric did his best to assist the throne and serve the monarchy. There was much to take care of, and things were chaotic after the fog of war settled. But he was up to the task, and he did everything in his power to make the world a better place. In his spare time, he would visit New Alarinthia and assist Vivien as well. Having achieved his dream of a changed nation, it made sense to help out. It would take a while before every Alarinthian adjusted to this new lifestyle. With your sacrifice, there was nobody left to lead Alestia. Ulric, stepping up, took on the role of the first king of the monarchy. His goal was clear: to educate the world on the new status quo. People slowly learned and adjusted to news of the Triumvirate's fall, but with many years of hard work, they had come to enjoy Ulric's rule. Alestians lived in peace, never fearing what their rulers may do to them. He never forgot the romance that blossomed along your journey. Even though you were lost, he still stayed loyal to you and your memories. Though people thought he refused to move on, he knew this wasn't true. With his curse lifted, he was no longer afraid of dying. He knew that if he did, he might see his love again in the afterlife. This thought is what kept him going when things as a ruler got rough. Thanks to your efforts, Ulric was able to live a happy life, free from the Triumvirate. The shadows of his past soon dissipated, and he turned into a new man, truly loved by the people. Though his secrets never came to light, he had certainly done enough work to make up for them. After the battle for Alestia, Damek had a lot of work to do. Going from a member of the rebellion to a leader in the monarchy was a huge change. He was no longer part of a small army. His actions affected the entire world. Because of your sacrifice, the surviving forces were in a state of disarray. However, this was put to rest when Ulric stood up and assumed the role of king. Damek immediately pledged loyalty to his childhood friend and served his new king. But he never forgot about you and what you did in order to secure victory. He used you as a guide on what to do and was known as kind and honorable. That was his way of honoring your friendship, using your ideals as inspiration. He remained in his role as advisor, just under Ulric's leadership instead. Honoring your appointment, he served in this capacity until the end of his days. His bond with Ulric stayed as strong as ever, and they always saw eye to eye. Damek eventually got over all of the fears that controlled him. He paid visits to the spot where he lost his mother, but it held no power over him. Speaking as if she were there with him, he told her stories of everything that happened. And he was able to leave without feeling sad. Instead, he was happy. He knew that if she were really there, she would be proud of him. That was enough to keep him going when times got tough. Thanks to your efforts, Damek was able to live a long, happy life. He served the throne for the rest of his life, remaining forever loyal. The tale of how far he'd come would go down in history and become legend. True to his word, Sovey was never seen again after the trip back to Mazeo. Seemingly lost to history, nobody was able to confirm what had happened to him. However, for almost an eternity, sightings of a man resembling him had been reported. This man had always fought enemies of the monarchy, ensuring your legacy continued. If it truly was Sovey, then perhaps his claims of defecting from the Triumvirate were true. But as nobody could prove his true identity, this was simply a matter of conjecture and debate. Giving Howl his independence came at the cost of his life. However, he knew the chances of dying were high when he asked. People would say that you made the right choice by granting him his wish. Many mourned the loss of Howl in the battle for Alestia. His wealth of knowledge about the monarchy would have filled books. However, his kind was now all but extinct, a casualty of this ruthless war. Aaron's Tavern went on to boom in popularity, being near the birthplace of the monarch. He was forever thankful that he didn't have to give up his home like Damek had wanted. As a tribute to you, he would rename the tavern in the future, his way of saying thanks. This is where Milas settled down, unable to decide between Mazeo and Valenorth. He lived a happy and peaceful life, choosing how his remaining days played out. Being free to choose what happened to him, he was never bound by duty again. After the chaos dwindled, Alex returned to Mazeo and started a new life. His treaty was honored, and pirates were forgiven for all they had done. All bans were lifted, and pirates were officially employed as traders. Neda was never seen again. It was assumed that she didn't agree with these changes, or perhaps she was spiteful that you didn't choose to align with her demands. Either way, Alestia would forever remember her as a ruthless pirate lord. After finding himself fully redeemed, Gryz returned to his office as mayor. Honoring the pirate treaty he had coordinated, he helped Mazeo adjust to every change. He had long since been forgiven by the people, but it was only now that he forgave himself. The Created Seers seemed to be affected by your attack on the Dark Idol. As if offering their strength when needed the most, the energy within them vanished. When the fog of war settled, they were no longer plagued with visions. They had healthy minds. Vivien returned to Alarinthia and led it into a new age. No longer was the fate of the nation in the hands of the strong. Alarinthia existed in unity with the new monarchy, and it flourished. Trade routes were introduced, and its ports were open to everybody. The strict security and immigration process had been abolished permanently. Holding a ball every year, Vivien kept up the tradition of giving to the people. One thing was for sure. Alarinthia would never be in the hands of the strong again. Vivien lived out a long and happy life in the nation he had always dreamed of creating. Shane was never seen again after that fateful encounter in Balteus. He is presumed dead, and many refuse to speak about his betrayal. If he survived, he went to great lengths to remain hidden from the world. When the chaos and confusion settled down, Halin seemed like a new man. He likened his existence to that of a spectator watching a performance. No matter what he wanted to do, his body could not defy his masters. He decided to atone for what he had done and joined the new monarchy. Of course, many people were apprehensive about accepting his aid. Over time, they learned to accept him and his desires as genuine. His job stayed largely the same, ensuring that Alestia's rulers remained in power. But with new masters and even new friends, he took pride in being on the right side. With the Dark Idol gone from Balteus, the corruption slowly waned. Over the next several decades, it made a complete transformation. Many would call it the most beautiful place in all of Alestian history. Its name was changed to New Balteus, and left behind its old roots. No longer would it be known as the seat of the tyrannical triumvirate. People would see it as the place where Alestia was changed forever. People would come from all over the world to see the home of the new monarchy. It became a symbol of new beginnings, teaching people that change is always possible. As the corruption slowly disappeared, people settled down and turned it into a prosperous nation. You were successful in your aspirations. You left behind an entirely changed world. The members of the rebellion that survived had a new, even bigger journey before them. It was time to lead the world into the bright future you secured. For them, work had only just begun. Thank you for your service, Monarch. For everything you've done, you will never be forgotten.
open up. Did you just wake up? Oh, jeez. Hope we won't be late. Don't tell me you forgot what day it is. It's the anniversary of your induction. If we don't hurry to the town square, we'll be late. Salus is already under enough stress having to train Milas. So come on, we need to get going. Your parents are counting on me, Seer. I told them to give me 10 minutes tops. Well, don't just stand there. You need to get ready. At this rate, you'll be greeting the townspeople in your underwear. I mean, you can if you want to, but I really don't recommend that. Whoa, hey, calm down. Hey, wait, are you okay?